Today, we're going to talk about being limitless and specifically being limitless with our health.
One of the reasons why people kind of start to fall apart physically as they get older is they don't adjust how they exercise, the amount of protein that they take in.
So I think a lot of us shoot for success. And then once we have success, we realize that being able to transfer it or share it or empower others is where the significance of success comes from.
5 simple steps to an extraordinary life. No snooze, no phone, gratitude and goals. Take care of the physical, send out an encouraging message.
You're listening to the Real Business Connections Network. Real Business Connections Network. Powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC. Subscribe now and check us out at realbusinessconnections.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everyone, once again to the Real Business Connections Network. This is our newest segment, Real Talk with GrowGetters. What's a GrowGetter? Simply put, we're go-getters that are growth-oriented, leveling up every single day. And ultimately, today we're going to talk about being limitless and specifically being limitless with our health. I have 3 experts in their own right that are brilliant, and I'm here. I'm the grow-getter here to listen and learn. And just to get started, and rather reading some long scripted bio, I want to give everyone an opportunity just to introduce themselves, who they are, who they help, why they do what they do. And Glenn, I'll get it started with you.
Yeah, sure, man. My name is Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to 1, a father of 8. I got 8 beautiful babies. I am also the host of a daily morning show called #Rise and Grind Live, where we go live 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. And then I am the founder of the 800% Elite Automotive Club, which is my business. And that is training and consulting where we work with owners and general managers of car dealerships all over North America.
Love it. You said only 8?
Yes, that's right. I got 8 babies, man.
Only 8
babies.
Totally.
Pretty amazing. Been a gift.
Marlene, what about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I have an online coaching business, and I create content for everybody. I think around natural healing, holistic health, practices for productivity and for living authentically and with intentionality. And I have been focusing specifically recently on helping women in all stages of menopause. For a few reasons, I focus there. One is, I'm there myself right now. And I needed the help despite even being like a health expert myself. There was still more I needed to know. And the more I dug in, the more I realized people were really desperate. Women were really desperate for the real information and for things that would help them and natural health for symptoms and so forth. And on top of that, I found that we were sold this like a crappy bill of sale about what happens to you over the age of 50 or once, for men and women, what happens to you in your older years and what's expected of you. And we follow this sort of like self-imposed, like our bodies will start to fall apart. And then we just go steadily down that way. It's what we've been kind of told to expect. And I call BS on that. And I want to help everybody feel vibrant and purposeful and energetic and really alive for the whole second half of their life, however long that is. And so that's my mission, is to share that with people.
I love this. And Glenn joked before we jumped on, how are we going to learn limitless, aging from a 25-year-old. You look fantastic. And Glenn, I didn't mention this. I always like to show some love when a guest introduces themselves. Glenn is the master of the morning routine. 5:30, rising and grinding every single day. Marlene, master of helping people even if they're aging, which we're all going to do. And then Jenn, tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Yes. So I'm an adventure athlete. I just set a world record for being the first woman to climb the second highest peak on each of the 7 continents. I am a speaker and an author, a business owner. I'm a mother of 7, so not quite 8, but 7. And there's no more coming. So there you go. And that's me in a nutshell.
And the number one reason I brought you on, Jenn, is you're doing things most people could only imagine. You do things that are a twinkle in our eye. I don't even know where to start. I don't know how you do what you do at such a high level so consistently, but I think we have so much to glean and learn from that. So to get started with the overall conversation, I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but it's a very simple, this is not a trick question. Well, what's the first thing we do every single morning, everyone on earth? If we're blessed enough, the first thing we're going to do is wake up. We're blessed enough to wake up and see another day. That's the first thing that happens. And then the rest of our day is kind of up to us, right? And I know, Glenn, you talk about morning routines a lot. So we wake up, we're blessed to see another day. We'll start with you just talking about like, what does that morning look like for you?
Yeah, so done a lot of studying and a lot of research in the world of morning routines, right? I was wanting to change my life and I was studying successful people. And what I found is that the majority of successful people have some sort of powerful morning routine, something that taps into mind, body, and spirit, right? And they all have kind of different ways of doing it, right? And so I started testing all these different ways. The cold shower thing, Tony Robbins was like, take a cold shower every day. I'm like, this sucks. I'm out. I don't like this. This does not bring me joy in the morning. I need joy. I need energy, right? But I did find a sequence of events that worked really well for me. 5 simple steps to an extraordinary life. Started applying that to my life. And now we've taught this sequence to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world. And it's real simple. It's step 1, never hit the snooze button. Snooze button is the devil. It is a liar. It is Satan incarnate, right? It tells you, oh, just push the snooze button for 8 more minutes. You'll feel more rested. Never happens. Nobody's ever felt more rested after a snooze, ever. So we never hit the snooze button. Number 2 is don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. I know I just pissed off half your audience right there, but don't do it. It's bad, bad, bad. There's nothing good on there. The emails, the texts, the violence, the protests, the racism, the division, everything in social, not good for your brain first thing in the morning. It's junk food for your brain.
Glenn, unless they touch their phone to turn on this episode, we'll give them a pass on that one.
I wouldn't even want them to do that. And wait till they've taken care of themselves first. I do a show live at 5:30 a.m. and I tell people, if you need to get up earlier to make sure you're not jumping right into my show so you can take care of yourself first, do that. Like, I don't want you to watch my show first, right? And it's interesting because we've gotten so addicted to these devices. You said, everybody wakes up and that's the first thing we do. Well, it used to be we'd wake up and the first thing we would do is we would go to the bathroom. That's what we used to do first thing in the morning. People don't even go to the bathroom first thing anymore without their phone, right? It's crazy. Half asleep, sitting on the pot, right? It's nuts. So don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. Is super powerful. Step 3 is to write down your gratitude and goals. Write down the things that you're thankful for, and then write down the things that you're reaching for. This is a powerful 1-2 punch. A lot of people have been told to write their goals, but most don't. Reason being is writing goals by itself can actually be a negative experience. I want a bigger house. I want more money. I want to be better looking. All of these things can create a negative energy. Whereas if you say, I'm grateful I have a roof over my head, I'm grateful my bills are paid, and I'm grateful I woke up today, and I want a bigger house, and I want more money, and I want to be better looking. Now it's positive. The gratitude becomes fuel for the goals, and it becomes a positive experience for people. Step 4 is take care of the physical. I don't care what you do, walk, run, jog, play golf, play basketball, climb mountains, which is amazing, Jen. Whatever it is that you do, get the body in motion, because objects in motion stay in motion, objects at rest stay at rest. And then once you've done those 4, step 5, send out an encouraging message. Lift somebody up, whether it's a Facebook message, a text message, whatever. This causes positive energy to get released out into the universe. That positive energy has no choice but to convert and come back to you and make an impact on others. So those are the 5 steps that I follow every day. No snooze, no phone, gratitude and goals. Take care of the physical, send out an encouraging message. And that's what we teach around the world.
I'm wondering from the ladies whether it's one of those steps or adding something that wasn't listed there that you do. What spoke to you in Glenn's, what a great framework, by the way, Glenn. What spoke to you guys, or what would you like to add?
I mean, I would just say that I do many of those things in a morning routine also, although it doesn't sound like mine is as solidified and clear as yours has become. So I look forward to that for myself. But the sending somebody a positive message, like right after you do the gratitude and the goals together, also adding the goals in like that, I was like, oh yeah, I could tweak that because it's all about the tweaks. So I'm definitely going to be adding that into my morning routine.
What
Love
about
it.
you,
Yes,
Jen?
it's amazing. Just sending out that positive message. Impactful.
Yeah. So for me, my morning routine starts the night before. I like to have a night routine. I find if I have a bedtime and I hold myself to it, my next day is already set up for success. So I will go over my agenda for the day the night before. I'll lay out all the clothes that I'm going to do, all the transitions from the different roles I play throughout the day, and have that mock run up the night before. So then almost when I wake up and do the morning routine and get into the day, it's like I've done it before. I've had the dress rehearsal in my mind and now it's time to execute. And that's been very helpful for me.
I do the gratitude thing. I don't necessarily write it down like I used to, but I do it in my head at bedtime also. And I recently heard somebody say to try this, and I've been doing it, and I've been sleeping deeper, but it's to say, to like the universe or source or whatever your higher is. Thank you for showing me how these problems work themselves out while you sleep. So it's like you're allowing your subconscious to work your stuff out while you're sleeping. So that when you wake up, yeah, you can dive into your morning routine and you're not like dragging in the stuff from the day before too. Well, I agree. Morning and night routines are key.
I agree and align with all of that. So at 10:59 p.m., I am awake having conversations with my wife. At 11 p.m., I am asleep. And that is the rule, and no one breaks the rule. And my wife understands that. I understand that. Jen is spot on. Like, you cannot be consistent with a morning routine if you do not have a consistent bedtime and a consistent night routine. It's impossible.
Starts the night before. And let's
Does
double
indeed.
down on one more piece, Glenn, because this is something that I love learning more about. Double down and teach us a little bit more about that power of gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude is what takes you from being a victim to a victor. When you can shift a perspective of any situation and determine that it's there to serve you, to grow you as a learning lesson. Like, when you can find the gratitude in every experience, you can take control of your life. Gratitude is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful force on the planet. And I know that sometimes it sounds all rosy and cheeky and so on and whatever, right? And soft. But I know some gratitude gangsters on this planet. Like, the people that I know that have reached the highest levels, they will all, admittedly, on camera or off, tell you that it takes a level of gratitude for every experience in your life in order to reach those higher levels.
I want to pass it to Jen because I saw her nod, and she has the victim to victor story. Like, tell us a little bit, give us the short version of what happened to you, Jen.
Yeah. So short version, I was climbing K2, which if anybody's into mountaineering, they understand that's one of the more deadly mountains in the world, the top 3 for sure. And I went in 2021 to climb that mountain. It's the second highest peak in Asia. And a teammate of mine died in an avalanche. And so I was on the mountain and I had a choice to either continue the climb or to head back down. And somebody asked me, like, do you want to join us or what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to go back down and take care of my team. This mountain is always going to be here. So thank you for asking. But yes, so I went down, I took care of my teammate, and another one was injured and had frostbite injuries, and flew home. Got home earlier than expected because of the events that happened. And my kids came back from camp a couple of days later and they're like, "Hey mom, did you summit?" Said, "No, I didn't, but I had success." And they looked at me like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Who we show up as people is way more important than anything we'll ever achieve. And I was successful in how I showed up. I'm grateful that I took care of my team and know that I'll be able to go back and climb the mountain another time. And they're like, okay, it's kind of clicking, but I don't know. And I know I did the right thing, but that doesn't mean I enjoyed turning around, right? Like, I think we need to separate those two things. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of everything to make that climb happen. And I had to turn my back on all of that to do the right thing in my mind. So the next year I had to train because I had to go back, right? That's a mountain. If I want the record, I have to summit that mountain. And there were days where I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this again. Did I make the right decision? Blah, 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 blah. And it came about 3 weeks prior to needing to go back to K2. And I'm not excited, right? Like, when you don't know what you're getting into, it's okay. When you're going back into something that you've had an experience, sometimes it can be harder because you have to do more mind gymnastics of, how do I make this good? This isn't going to happen again. Everything's different. Like, all those little things you tell yourself. Well, 3 weeks before it was time to go back to climb, I got a phone call. And it was somebody that knew somebody in Pakistan and said, hey, there's this individual that's been training that doesn't have the resources to make the climb happen. Can you bring over some things and make it possible? And I thought about it. And I'm like, yeah, for sure I can. And so I went back to K2 on July 22 of 2022. I became the third American female to summit. And 30 minutes later, the first Pakistani female stood on top of her country's prize peak because I got to help sponsor her to make that possible. And I think a lot of times when things happen to us in the moment, we can feel overwhelmed and failure and ungrateful and all those things. But I just share this story to encourage you to sit with that a little bit longer and continue on your path further, because sometimes it's the universe using us for more. And so now, as terrible as that event was, I'm grateful that I got it to be a part of my story, because look what it made possible.
I'm just sitting with it. I'm just sitting with the wisdom. How you're turning success into significance. I know that's a big part and a big thing that's important to you, Jenn. So, like, we can have successful accolades. We can win at a lot of things. But how do we live a significant life with that success?
I think anybody can look at me and they're like, oh, cute. Barbie climbed a mountain, right? Like, that's the new thing. Like, I'm Mountain Barbie since the Barbie movie came out. And great. But it doesn't really matter unless it makes a difference for somebody else. It doesn't really give value to the experience unless I've paved the path for somebody else to have the experience or to make it easier for them. So I think a lot of us shoot for success. And then once we have success, we realize that being able to transfer it or share it or empower others is where the significance of success comes from.
Yeah. Interesting with you being a mountain climber too, because there's a book called The Second Mountain. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to check it out, but there's a book called The Second Mountain that talks about exactly that. The first mountain is usually us on the path for, financial gain and trying to figure out our career success, so on and so forth. Then you get to the top of that summit and you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's a mountain over there. And that mountain's about impact and purpose and so on and so forth. And in the book, it talks about how you have two choices. You can either go back down to the bottom of the first mountain and go across the valley, the plains, and start over to climb a second one. Or you can find a way to bridge the top of the one that you did with your career and so on and so forth with impact and purpose and create a bridge over to that other mountain. But it's very, very interesting read if you ever get a chance.
That's cool.
Let me ask you guys then, what is your second mountain? So for Glenn and Marlene, what's something you've accomplished? And now that you've accomplished it, what is that second mountain for you? Who are you helping and how are you living a significant life on that second mountain?
I can go first.
Yeah, go for it.
Wow. It's interesting because you guys, I don't know how old everyone is here, but let's just say we're in this, there's a decade maybe surrounding all of us. I haven't experienced a lot of that. Hey, I succeeded at this, or like getting to the top. You know, I've done a lot of things in my life before I embraced like nutrition and becoming a healing coach. I was an actor and an artist, but I spent most of my time like I was raising my kids and doing other things on the side. So my first mountain might be that my children are good human beings. And I think they know how to think and speak critically. And so that's a major accomplishment, putting out better humans into the world. You know, so there's kind of that. And then I think my second mountain is almost like my first one at the same time, but I still want to feel that. And for me, now it's going to be creating like a system or a program for people to approach, you know, menopause and longevity with a mind to making that second phase, let's call it Act 2, really meaningful. So finding something that for a lot of people, maybe they haven't even found like that meaning, and then to sort of share it with others. But now I have to do it all at the same time, if that makes sense. So, you know, I want to help people understand that even if you are like, you know, I'm 55, I'm just started my own business like a year ago, the one I'm in now. And that there's still opportunity, and you should pursue doing all those things. And if you haven't done them yet, if you didn't even get started, but you have things that are inside you, get out there and do it. Like, start it now, do it now. Now I have the time to be able to go forth and, you know, further into that journey. So that's what all that made me think of.
I love it. And in a second, we'll talk about Act 2 and Act 3, but I asked the question. So Glenn and Jen, if you have a second example, well, Glenn, what's the next mountain for you?
Yeah, so for me, we're climbing that mountain now. You know, I've been in the auto industry since 1999, and I had the opportunity to work my way up through the ranks in a car dealership in Paris, Kentucky, small little car dealership, and a small dealership in a small town. And we grew that dealership 800% to become the second largest used car franchise dealership in the United States of America. And we did that in 6 years with great leadership, me included. Not saying that in an ego way, but I was part of the leadership. But we grew that 800%. And when we were at the top, I literally just had this moment where God whispered to me and said, you can stay right here for the next 10, 20 years and it'll be amazing. You'll make great money. You'll have a white picket fence. Kids will be taken care of. Like, you can totally stay right here. It'll be amazing. Or follow me and let's see how far we can go. And so I chose in that moment to quit my job. The industry thought I was a nutcase, thought I had completely lost my mind. I was making ridiculous amounts of money working for somebody else and not having to take any of the risk and getting all of the reward and just having to show up and do the work, versus now we're on a completely different path. Most people in my situation stick with one dealership, buy their own dealership, build their own empire. My second mountain is I'm now working with owners of car dealerships all across North America, helping them build their empires. In the process, I'm building mine, but we're making a much bigger impact. So instead of me having a store with 300 employees, I now have 200 stores that each have X amount of employees. And so we're able to make just a bigger blanket impact, and we're shifting the auto industry along the way. So that's the mountain that I'm on now. I just wrote a book, which I'm super excited about, and I speak on stages and I do all of those incredible things. I won a contest, greatest speaker in America for Grant Cardone. Got to speak at 10X, which was phenomenal. So it's been a crazy journey since making that decision. But yeah, that's where we're at now, is we're kind of at the lower base of that second mountain, trying to figure out what it's going to look like at the top.
And real quick, if anybody's like, what did he just say? Go to the description, go to the show notes. We've got links there where you can go deeper with Glenn. And Jen, a good question to ask you is like, what's your 700th mountain? Like you're already past second
real.
mountain, right? What you've already done big things. Like what are you working on now?
Yeah, Interestingly enough, I'm taking this year off. I think we always say, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I'm really trying to demonstrate to my kids that we do have a season of what is. And we have a season of recovery and recalibrating and recharging and refocusing on our internal world so that we can do the next step with intention and purpose and passion. So this year I've had a lot of opportunities show up. I have a book coming out in January as well. But I'm not taking on anything new until I give myself a year to just recalibrate. And that's probably a good lesson for everybody to hear as well.
Such a good lesson to hear, especially we're all driven people. It's good to take a year sabbatical, recalibration, self-love, self-care, because at the end of the day, we only have one life, right? And Marlene, that's what I love what you've been working on. When we come to like Act 2, Act 3, listeners might be at any age in her life, but all of us are gonna age. So as we're aging and hormones change, what are some essentials for anyone to consider, whether you're a man or woman, menopause, no menopause? What are some essentials just to get started there?
Well, I think that just out of the gate, the first thing to say is that I think people need to recognize, and this is for men and women, because men go through something called andropause, which isn't I wouldn't call it the male menopause, but it's the hormonal changes, but it's more like a slow drip for men and like a tsunami for women, let's say, if you want to differentiate how the hormones change. But after we go through this hormonal upheaval, we have like a different physiology. You have a different body, just like when you're 10 and then over a few years, you go through puberty, you have a different body. And nobody's going to say to like a 15-year-old girl or a 16-year-old boy, try and fit back in the pants you wore when you were 10 years old. Or why don't you act or behave like you did before you went through this big change? So one thing I just want to tell people is you have to do things differently. And I really have come to believe that one of the reasons why people kind of start to fall apart physically as they get older is they don't adjust how they exercise, the amount of protein that they take in, and other nutritional things that you have to take into account. We absolutely need more protein as we get older, let's say over even 45 or 50. But we really need like less calories in general. So you have to make a shift. You have to do it with intentionality to take in more protein, but let's say less calories. And I would also add that the story of, as you get older, you want to do like low or no impact exercise because it's hard on your joints and your bones is actually the opposite of what we need and what is true. We need to do exercises, whether it's just with your own body weight, you need weight resistant exercise to keep your muscles from breaking down. So you don't want to lose muscle mass, which is why you see a lot of old people and they're kind of hunched over, they get real skinny, they're not strong. If they fall, they break a pelvis, it happens to you a lot. But if you want to keep your bones strong and your muscles growing and maintained, you have to do weight-bearing exercises. You do need and the protein and the more protein. So those are like two things. That's like something I would just say as like a baseline knowledge that a lot of people don't really even know. And on top of that, there's a whole bunch of other things that but now I've lost what the original question was. Now I'm going off into a whole other thing here. But
Essentials as we age. And
essentials as we age. Yes.
Keep shooting. Did you have another thing?
Well, I was going to say, in addition to like diet and exercise and, keeping yourself connected with other human beings, that something that's really important is probably to take a look at detoxification. So supporting the body's natural detoxification is really good. But also as you get older, you want to eliminate things that are going to make it harder for your body to stay strong and healthy. So, I always tell everyone to completely eliminate artificial fragrances from their home, from their body care. It's a hormone disruptor. And so they will mess with your natural hormones. And if they're already in fluctuation, you don't need to be adding fuel to the fire. So perfumes, artificial fragrances, I don't have them in my house. Cleaning products, all that kind of stuff. So look at detoxifying your environment too as another way to help you like age with strength.
So a question for the group, because a lot of tips, and I love that. I hope people are taking notes. I know my show notes writer, who's a total badass, he's taking some good notes right now. Is there anything, one specific thing or two specific things is what's coming to mind between Glenn and Jenn that Marlene said that you want to double down on? Or did she miss something that you want to add? So is there something you want to double down on or add something to that incredible list that maybe we missed?
I'll go. So I think, I think you gave us a great list to work with, but I do feel like spending time on mindset. I noticed this when I was climbing, that I was out in the wilderness brushing my teeth every morning, right? And I looked out and I'm like, oh, everything's beautiful and this is amazing and what a cool planet we have and blah, 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 blah. I came back home and I started brushing my teeth in front of a mirror again. And then I'm saying, I can't believe I haven't plucked my eyebrows. My hair needs to be colored. Like, what's wrong? Like, I started picking myself apart. And I didn't notice it except because it was such a contrast to what I had done before. And so at our house, we have this thing called toothbrush talk. We don't sing happy birthday while you brush your teeth. So you make sure you brush it for 2 minutes. We say like only allowed to say positive things about yourself when you brush your teeth in the morning and when you brush your teeth at night. And it's these teeny tiny little things that I think give us some big bang for the buck, because life's hard. Like, it comes at us. Things are changing. Our hormones are like what our body looks like. I don't get to fit in the jeans I wore when I was 21, right? I'm not that age anymore. I'm not that person. And just learning how to appreciate who we are along our journey and remind ourselves, maybe during your toothbrush time, that it's pretty special to be here.
Glenn, you got something to add for us?
Toothbrush time. I love that. With all the kids that I've got, Jan, and I'm sure you know and understand. So we listen to PJ Panda. PJ Panda, he plays the song goes, brush your teeth, and it's like 2 minutes long, and everybody's dancing around. We got to brush your teeth because we got to get them the full 2 minutes. And something that we do along those similar lines, not toothbrush time, is we end every night. The family ends every night together. Even if I'm traveling, whatever, we'll jump on Zooms and we do. Everybody shares one thing they were grateful for the day, and then one member of the family sits in the middle of the room, and everybody tells them one thing that they love about them. We pour love and grace. No matter what's happened throughout the day, there's been plenty of fights. The kids are pulling each other's hair. They hate each other. They've thrown things at each other. They've tried to kill each other. But at the end of the night, we're going to sit there as a family. We're going to talk about what we're grateful for, and we're going to share what we love about that person that's in the room. I will. So thanks, Jenn, for adding the toothbrush time. I think that's more valuable. We have fun dancing around. Maybe we'll do that sometimes, but some good positive affirmations can go a very long way. So I think that's powerful. Also, Ben, I want to speak to two things. One, Jenn mentioned earlier, like rest and pause, and how important it is that we create those stops. We actually, as a company, next week is another one. We, as a company, a year and a half ago, we started Sabbath weeks. So every 7th week of the year, I shut my entire company down. Every 7 weeks. And all my employees get paid. Everyone, there's no guilt, no shame. Like, what I found is when we gave people 2 weeks vacation or 3 weeks vacation, throughout the year, they still had other stuff, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, so on and so forth. And people always felt guilty to take vacation because they were putting extra workload on everybody else, right? And they couldn't really enjoy it. And my people could never vacation together because I couldn't have 2 people off at the same time. So God put it on my heart a year and a half ago, close your company down, every 7 weeks, pay all your people. And I was like, what? I'm the rise and grind guy. We get after it every day. What are you talking about? I ain't shutting nothing down. You're crazy. But then I really started to look at it. And as I started to look at it, man, there were so many benefits. So I was like, all right. And I went on Google, dude. I literally went on Google and was like, give me a list of companies that give their people 7 weeks paid vacation and like completely shut down. Zero companies in the world do it. Zero. So I immediately thought, oh, this is a game changer, dude. I can recruit top talent. Like I'm the only company I know of on the planet that shuts down every 7th week and pays all their people. So we started doing that, and it's been a game changer. What ends up happening is everybody runs hard for 6 weeks, and then we all rest and recover. And then we come back jacked up and we run hard for 6 weeks. And oil changes and doctor's appointments and all the other things, they get done in that 7th week, and vacations and trips and so on and so forth. It's amazing. So we're actually so much more efficient and more effective and more productive because we take the time to rest, like Jenn was speaking of. And then the last thing I'll share is, as far as for my experience as I've gotten older, and what I'll share to people that are maybe in that same 10-year bubble that Marlene was just speaking about a minute ago, is that give yourself some grace, forgiveness. It's okay to let go. The path that you chose when you were 20, just like the jeans you chose when you were 20 might not fit when you're 50. The path that you chose when you were 20 might not fit when you're 50. Like, just because maybe you chose to be a nurse at 20 because you thought that's what you wanted to do, and you've been doing it your whole life, and you're like, well, man, I'm pot committed. I'm 30 years in. No, dude, it's okay. You can let it go. You can shift. You can change. You can do something else. Give yourself grace. Forgive yourself for any decisions you may have made in the past that didn't serve you well. Maybe it was a bad relationship. Maybe it was like Marlene was talking about with the toxins. Maybe it was a season of drugs or heavy drinking or whatever. Like, let that stuff go, man. Today's a new day. Let's move forward. I had a interview on my show, and the lady, she said, you are defined by what you do next, not what you left behind. And I think those are really, really powerful words. Give yourself some grace as you age, and allow yourself to live in the, what am I going to build, create, or find joy in next, versus being stuck in the past. So those are my shares, Ben.
Powerful, Glenn.
Love
Thanks,
it.
buddy.
Love it. Tell us, Glenn, you tell us, how can we continue to support you? It's going to be in the show notes, but how do we get more Glenn in our life?
Yeah, just thank you. Really, the morning 5. So I love exchanges. Like, I love to exchange value first, right? Like, I'm not going to say go follow me or go jump on my Insta. I'm like, go to themorning5.com and download my free ebook, 5 Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Life. If it works for you, or if you find value in it, you'll learn more of my story, and you want to connect, we're on the same frequency, then there's everything to do so is in there. But that's where you should start. Morning5.com, download the free ebook. It's a short read. You can read it in less than an hour. I think you'll find it valuable, and we can go from there.
Love that. And why the reason I asked you randomly there, Glenn, was I was thinking a great way to end it is giving advice to our future self, possibly our 50-year-old self. My case, I'm younger than y'all, but I'm going to implement it today. And you just gave incredible advice for your prior, not future self, your prior self. You go back in time, give advice to your prior self. And that was a mic drop moment. But I want to ask the two ladies as well, if, Marlene, if you can give advice to your, let's say, 50-year-old self, physically, mentally, spiritually, what would you tell them?
This is the 50-year-old self. That's my future self. Because that's in my past.
No, I messed up when I used the word future. You're talking to your prior self. You're going back in time. That was just a flub on my part. So your prior self.
Okay.
For me, it's in the future. I'm the young buck here, and you all look better than me. So you guys are doing something right.
I would say to just stay in your authenticity, to keep moving forward with what you know is really your path, even though people will think you're crazy for giving up what looks like a better path. To not get caught up in the thick of thin things. And just that we got this. I actually have a baby picture of myself framed over my desk, and I wrote on it, "We got this." And I look at it, and I look in my baby eyes, and I say, it's going to be okay. So hoping that I can actually affect that past version of me.
Marlene, I'm already connected and supporting you, so I have a gist of how, but tell everybody at home as well how they can get more Marlene in their life.
Okay, well, I would say first and foremost to probably check out my social media. So on Instagram and Facebook, Marlene Zisman, marlenezisman.com is my website. It's a work in progress, but you could find pieces I've written about a lot of like holistic health things. And so I think those are the best ways. I do one-on-one coaching, and I have a group coaching for menopausal women coming up next year, but just following along for all the stuff that I put out there. That would be the best.
Love it. And guys listening at home, it's all in the description. Make the description your friend. Click the show notes links. Jenn, no pressure, but close us out. You're giving advice to your prior self as you're aging. What would you say to them to have a limitless health and age well?
Have fun. Like, I think we have a tendency of making life serious and hard and like all this effort that we have to do. We get this life. Like, we get this opportunity to wake up every day. And so when I look at my younger self who is striving, I mean, I'm grateful for where I am, but I just think have more fun, enjoy, like make sure you're laughing every day and make sure that, like everybody said earlier, lean into the authentic self and just embrace who you are.
I need more Jenn in my life. How do we do that? How do we keep up with what you're doing? You mentioned the book.
Yes, I have the book. I have a website, jendrummond.com. You can find all of my links to social medias there. If you're listening today, I have a little video clip that I can text you. So if you text the word EVEREST to 33777, you'll see the Milky Way going over Everest Base Camp. And I keep that on my phone because when life gets hard or serious or overwhelming, it just reminds me we're these little insignificant beings doing our little thing and to have fun. So text Everest to that number, introduce yourself if you feel inclined, and thank you for today.
Text Everest to 33777. I'm going to do it now so I have a head start on everybody. And yeah, Jenn, your video froze a little bit, but we caught every single word. So if anyone's watching on the video, you froze, but we caught every single word because the world needs to hear more of your message. I appreciate all you guys. I hope all of y'all connect after this offline. I hope the listener is smashing every link in the show notes and following these instructions to connect with these three amazing people. I'm only 32, so I guess I have a little bit of a head start to start implementing today so we can all have a limited, fulfillment, happy, fulfilled, limitless life. So appreciate y'all for coming on for a fantastic, panel discussion today, and we'll have you back soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you again, Ben. Pleasure to meet you, Jenn, Marlene.
You
we
too.
will connect for sure.
Yeah. Lovely to meet all of you. Thanks for the inspo, you guys.